Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and Master Certified Life Coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're talking about giving yourself permission to make yourself happy in midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle, where we talk about how to get unstuck, clear, and excited about your next chapter, especially if you're over 50 and feeling like life is just way too precious to keep waiting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your Master Certified Coach and Midlife Mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again. Now, as you probably know, my mission is to help you stop living like time doesn't matter in midlife, because it does. One big thing that commonly gets in the way is this feeling that you don't have permission to do whatever it is. Like you can't do it, or you don't think you should do it. You say no instead of yes. You squish your dreams before they even see the light of day. Does that sound familiar? As your midlife coach, I need you to know that this may be getting in your way too. I have seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. It's a big deal for so many midlife gals, and it was for me too, especially when I was stuck between 45 and 50. One reason I was so stuck was because I didn't even appreciate how this kind of thing was blocking me. I desperately wanted someone else to give me permission to be happy. I have a feeling you're with me. Back then, the permission I was seeking was to leave my job without a certain lockdown plan that promised success. It felt super indulgent for me to leave my job without this, and this was a huge reason I stayed stuck for 5 years. This whole giving yourself permission thing is a huge deal, and if you weren't aware of it before, now, even with this little tiny bit of information so far, you will start to be more aware of it in your life. For sure, at the end of this episode, you will be so onto yourself that you will be ready to formalize a celebration to move on by hosting a permission slip ceremony for yourself. I am so excited to talk about this with you. If you're ready to give yourself permission to rest, say no, dream bigger, and basically just take up space in your next chapter, stay tuned. But just quick, there are a couple of things I want to make sure you know about. As a listener of the Women in the Middle podcast, I wanted to make sure that you know how we can work together. As you might be aware, I help midlife professional women get unstuck and reconnect with their desires so that they can move forward with clarity, confidence, and courage, fully honoring the privilege of aging and embracing what's still possible. It is so important to stop wasting any more time feeling stuck. In the end, it's all about regret-proofing your life, and my friend, I think it's the fastest way to rediscover joy and purpose after 50. I have a variety of options available, both private and group coaching. The best thing to do if you are curious about what it would be like to coach together and actually put yourself first like this is to just reach out and see what might be a good fit for you. We're going to hop on a call. That's really the best way to do it. And it's fun for both of us. So head over to www.talktosusie.com. That's SUZY, talktosusie.com. And the other thing is that I now have a quiz that will help you find out what's keeping you stuck and how to move toward the life you've been putting off. It will help you understand what your future self is craving. It's free, it's fun, and it's fast. So to take the quiz, go to www.midlifequiz.com and help yourself get the insight you need to go after what you're excited about in your next chapter. Again, you can find it at www.midlifequiz.com. Okay, now let's dive in. Today we're going to do something special, something fun, something surprisingly powerful. We're having a midlife permission slip ceremony. Yes, it's a thing, and you're going to love it. Because if you've been waiting for clarity, confidence, validation, for a sign from the universe, or even a sign from me, your midlife coach, this episode is it. We are not messing around. We are not messing around, my friend. I have to say that now that I've been doing this work since 2015, it is crystal clear to me that this topic matters. Okay? So here's why. Midlife women like you are brilliant, and so many of these midlife women that I have the extreme fortune to connect with, they don't appreciate their strengths, gifts, and talents. So even though there's brilliance, there's this lack of appreciation for their strengths, gifts, and talents. And like I said, brilliant women like you are one of these amazing midlife gals. You're more experienced, more capable, more generous than you give yourself credit for. I just know it. When I have my first call with potential clients, I call it a momentum call. I ask them to describe what's not going well, why they're stuck. As they describe it to me, it's almost as if I see an aura of possibility around them that they don't see. They drop so many clues as they tell me their narrative of what is getting in the way of their happiness. Have you ever been to Sedona, Arizona? That's where I first heard anything about getting your aura photographed and read. It seemed really wacky to me, but I was so curious about it. And as I understand it, it's your emotional energy, and you see colors around you when you look at the image. Now, I'm only woo curious. I've talked to you about this before on the podcast, and I don't know anything more about this topic. But that's what I always think about in moments like these, when I have an amazing midlife gal on my Zoom screen in my square, and I can see that she lacks this appreciation for what is still possible for her because she's only seeing what she can't do rather than what she can do. So think about it as a cartoon bubble. Like if the aura example is a little too wacky, just think about it as a cartoon bubble of possibility around your beautiful self in my Zoom square. That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm seeing. Even if it's in my imagination, that's how I'm processing it. And it really is powerful. I start to lean forward in my chair. I start to smile. I get all excited. And it's such a contrast to what the midlife gal in my Zoom square is experiencing as she's talking to me about why she's stuck and what she can't do. So the bottom line is that not allowing yourself to be happy is a common problem, and more importantly, a common reason for regrets in your life. And that's because as midlife gals, we are still waiting to give ourselves permission. Things like permission to rest, permission to want things, permission to change our minds, permission to try something new and possibly suck at it, permission to not be needed every minute, or not return a text, or not answer an email, or not pick up the phone in the exact minute that it presents itself to you. Permission to say no, permission to say yes, and the list goes on. So today we're going to be looking a little differently at all of this. We are going to flip the script. Now, here is what I think a permission slip really means now at our age, at your age, as women over 50. You got to remember what permission slips meant for you in childhood, though, right? Do you remember? A permission slip means that you were allowed to do something like access or freedom to do something, and it was usually at school. Maybe it was at church or at synagogue. Maybe you had other reasons to have a permission form, a permission slip. But I think of it mostly as school, like a fun outing or a field trip. Right now I'm thinking, a field trip to the zoo, anything like that you remember. And it might also be that not really a permission slip, but a form that you showed your parents something. And that gave you permission to get off the list of the teacher and move forward, right? So any way you slice it, it's kind of like, if you get the permission slip, you get access or freedom to take the next step. And it had to be signed by your parent. What about in midlife? What do you think of as a permission slip for you now? A permission slip means something else entirely. We're not in grade 4 anymore. It means more like ownership. I'm owning this. Or it means having agency to stay the course, do what it is you want to do. It also means you're done outsourcing your decisions. Like you're not willing anymore to let somebody else give you permission. You're going to own the decision. You're going to allow yourself to make a decision. It's very different. I even remember that stuck period of mine. I was just that 45 to 50. So I was grown up, even though I didn't feel like it all the time. I was desperate to have somebody older and wiser than me, or even just somebody wiser than me, to tell me what to do. I also remember something, again, this just popped into my head as I'm talking to you about it, but I remember it was I think it was my first year of university, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. Now, in grade 9, I wanted to be a graphic designer, or what we used to call commercial art. It was different. But by the time I got to university, I was really toying with this idea of being a marine biologist, and I hadn't even discovered whale watching yet. But I did have a fish tank most of my life, since I was 10. Anyway, I am not great at math, and I'm okay at science, but I'm really not great at math. And I remember my mom saying once to me, Susie, there are different paths you can take that would be easier for you. And she was kind of giving me permission not to take the hardest path. It was so interesting because I had never considered that I could still be a serious student and not take what I thought was a harder path, which was math. Now, once I did end up pursuing psychology, I had plenty of hard things to do there as well. But again, it was somebody else giving permission. And once she said that, I felt freed up. And once I was stuck in that 45 to 50 period, I was asking lots of people what they thought I should do. And what they thought I should do helped me have more confidence and more permission to pursue the suggestion. And this has gone on for me and many of the listeners right now. It goes on for decades. So I'm really hoping that shining the spotlight on it right now, like we're going to do, in a very real way, helps you realize the subtlety of what you're doing. Sometimes it's not so subtle, but what you're doing when you don't just take it on yourself. So think of it as outsourcing. A lot of people are familiar with this too when it comes to accountability, right? So if you have a doctor appointment, you're highly likely going to do the thing that you said you were going to do at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. But if you say that you're going to exercise at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, sometimes you don't feel as committed to that because it's more about internal accountability than external accountability. So it's this outsourcing business going on. So think about it. Are you still finding yourself waiting for somebody else to say, "Sure, honey, go ahead"? It's okay for you to want that. It's okay for you to do that. I've absolutely craved this so many times throughout my life that I didn't have the confidence or courage to give myself a permission slip, my own permission slip, which brings me to one of my favorite coaching stories ever. Drumroll, please. The blue fuzzy wand story. Now, years ago, a fuzzy blue wand suddenly appeared in my house. It's got sparkles down the stick part of the wand. I'm looking at it right now. So it's got double-sided sparkles, and then a blob of fuzziness, like fur, and then a silver star. It's over a foot. I don't know, maybe it's 14 inches or so tall. And it just appeared in my house. It was in the basement where there's a pool table and a TV and a couch area, like a pull-out couch where sometimes people stay. And it's where the kids played video games all those years. It was the kid hangout. And let me tell you, you notice when a sparkly blue wand shows up out of nowhere, like it didn't fit a lot of the other stuff that was in the basement. No one claimed it. It just materialized. To this day, I have no idea where it came from, but it has become one of my absolute favorite coaching tools. And when I'm on Zoom with a client and she says something like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that," or "Ooh, that feels so weird. Can I do that? Should I do that? Isn't that selfish? Ooh, I'm kind of cringing even thinking about it. Who am I to want this at my age?" Those kinds of thoughts, that kind of drama. I will reach over, pick up the wand, and hold it right to the camera and give a big, dramatic ding. Permission granted. I guess I could enhance it by getting a little bell. That might be even more exciting. Now, the client always laughs and catches on and sees her shenanigans immediately because, of course, this wand is ridiculous. It's fuzzy, it's sparkly, it doesn't look professional. It looks something like it belongs on a preschool princess costume. But immediately, right after, something shifts. Because if a ridiculous blue wand can give somebody permission like this, she can also give herself permission. Right? think about it. And that's the whole point of this episode. It's gotten to the point now that on a group coaching call in the Women in the Middle Academy, some of the other women are now able to sense what is needed. And they say, Susie, it's a wand moment. Get the wand. And they say it right on cue. It's so easy to see it with somebody else. It is much harder to see with yourself. Now, I have a feeling you related to this story. So here are 8 permission slips that you need this year. You might even want to write these down. So if you're driving or if you're on a walk, make a mental note that you might want to write some of this stuff down. It's really going to make you think. Number 1, permission to rest. Oh my gosh, have I embraced this one? And I still struggle, but I am really working on it. Real rest. Not collapse and rest because you have no other choice and you fell asleep standing up. And I literally have fallen asleep in the chair I'm sitting in right now because I am working or doodling or painting. I'm doing something past the point of exhaustion. So you might catch yourself nodding off or something like that. That's not what we're talking about now. This is permission to rest preventatively. So I see rest as a basic part of self-care, not a luxury. So it's not if you have time. It's not, if you have a clear calendar. The idea is that you make the time, get more sleep, have more downtime when you are actually resting, not multitasking your face off. You know the difference. I know you know the difference. So you can stop that bit of mind drama right now in justification of what you're currently doing. Permission to rest. Number 2, permission to imagine what is actually possible and push yourself to dream bigger. Now, I know you might be thinking, I'm not even comfortable dreaming anything. Sometimes it is difficult to dream, let alone dream bigger. Now, this is kind of related to a concept I introduced you to in an earlier episode, and I will put it in the show notes because I can't remember what it is. But it's about this idea of amplifying. So even when you're doing something good, challenge yourself to do something even better. How can you make it better for you? Not that it appears better to other people, but it's more enjoyable to you. So when it comes to dreaming bigger and permission to actually really push yourself, what is really possible? It's not only what you think you should do or low-hanging fruit, like what's easy to do. Actual dreams, the ones you haven't allowed yourself to really look at or imagine or feel good about or fantasize about, the ones you've suppressed, the ones that you are afraid to dream, the ones that never see the light of day because somebody told you couldn't do that when you were 7 years old, that kind of thing. And I know it might feel uncomfortable. And you might have to find little tricks and hacks to get you there. For example, what I did on my 60th birthday. I didn't just ask myself, what do I want to do that really lights me up? I pushed myself and I asked, what do I want to do so much that I tear up thinking about it? Boom. That's what did it for me. When I added that little idea of, oh my God, I'm excited to do it, it lights me up. But what comes to me as soon as I think that it's like so tingly that I'm actually tearing up thinking about the possibility of doing it. And I got an answer right away. And for me in that case, you might remember, I had the idea to go back and repeat a vacation I took 30 years before where I had a friendly encounter experience with a trip, hanging with the gray whales over it was a 4 or 5 day period, sleeping in a tent, being in the middle of nowhere, this special place in the world where you can have these friendly encounters with whales. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not even, you love whales. Why is that such a big idea? It's a big idea because I never imagined I would do it again without my family, right? It felt too indulgent to just spend that much money and that much time to do this thing that I'd already done before. And I always thought I'd love to share it with my family, but it's kind of it's like a lot for people who aren't really into whales. Like you're out there 7 hours a day, whale watching in a tiny boat. So thinking, it's like me. I don't really want to go on a ski trip. I'm good an hour or two skiing and then a massage and a hot chocolate and I'm good. But for skiers, they want more than that. So it really doesn't make sense for me to go on a ski trip with people who really like ski trips. So in that minute, I'm like, oh my God, I could go by myself. I could go by myself. That was the big idea. That was dreaming bigger. So I didn't just ask myself, what do I want to do? But what do I want to do that lights me up so much so that I tear up thinking about it? So that's like a hack. It really worked for me. It cut through the mind drama and I got an immediate visual, an immediate permission to do it. Well, it wasn't immediate. I had one thought, could I really do this? And then I'm like, yes, I can. It was a 60th birthday that helped me there too. So right now, I'm going to ask you that question just to practice it. What do you really want to do? What that really lights you up? What do you want to do that really lights you up so much so that you tear up thinking about it? That first image that just popped into your head, write it down fast and just let it be and exist in your world of awareness. You don't have to solve for it. You don't need to plan the trip. You don't need to spend the money. You don't need to take the certification. You don't need to have the conversation. Like, I don't know what it was that just came into your mind, but it's so good to know that it's a desire, that you dreamed a little bigger and you caught the thought. And now just let it be. Just let it be part of who you are and what you want. Okay? Number 3, permission to say no. Now, this one is squirm-worthy, I know. Imagine what it would be like if you believed that saying no was actually a tool to help you with clarity, to help you be more intentional. No is also a regret-proofing strategy. A lot of times you say yes to something that you really wanted to say no with, and then you have regrets. And no is also a way to be honest with yourself and practice authenticity. Saying yes when you want to say no really isn't. And it also often falls under the category of people-pleasing. So permission to say no, you could also think, and I mentioned this earlier, permission to say yes. There are different issues that come up, but both of them are really important. So permission to be honest and say no and yes when it's something that's very important to you. Number 4, permission to be curious and explore without the action details. Now, we just touched about this. This is really practicing one of the most important things I can teach you on this podcast and as your midlife coach is practicing the what without the how. And one of my favorite tools that comes up in several of these permission slips, I love this one. Identifying what you want and trying it out with baby step is totally fine. You're allowed to be curious and dip that baby toe in without making a giant game plan that includes accountability. You might think of it as not productive if you don't make it a reality. Now, catch yourself thinking that. Well, what's the point of putting it on my vision board, or why should I even bother including it on my bucket list or whatever you call a bucket list? Like, why should I even take this idea seriously if I'm not going to really take it seriously? So I want you to take the curiosity part seriously without attaching it to the action-oriented details. What if you just really lean in to giving yourself permission to be curious? It's pretty much guaranteed to moving through feelings of stuckness too. Like, there's so many things that are positive about being curious. So that's number 4. Number 5, permission to prioritize yourself without guilt. Now, this is huge, super hard for tons of us midlife gals, but let's play along and give you permission to be finally first. Just own it. No guilt. Think about it. If you don't put yourself on your own calendar, nobody else is going to do this. If you don't put yourself first, nobody else can do it. No one else can do this for you. So be like Nike. Just do it. Number 6, permission to be authentic, to be yourself. What would it be like if you said things you thought that you shouldn't say? Or if you shared an unpopular opinion that you felt really strongly about? This kind of thing. Sometimes this is referred to as taking up space. It could be a physical thing. It could be an emotional thing, a verbal thing. It could be a professional thing. Oh my gosh, right now I'm thinking about professionally what it was like at these regular meetings we would all have with my team and my manager. And how many times I wouldn't say something because I was nervous about what would people think, right? And I know there's lots of memes and jokes about when you get over 50 that you just care less about what people think. And I kept thinking, when am I going to start to be that way? Because it wasn't coming so quickly. I definitely cared a lot about what people think. And when you do that, when you change showing up, taking space authentically, you're not being yourself, right? You're not being yourself when you act like that. So just be more aware of it and give yourself permission to be authentic, to really be who you are. The idea is like when you're not doing that, you're playing small. A lot of people talk about it that way. I've heard the taking up space, the playing small, even shrinking so nobody sees you or hears you. You might even notice sometimes that you don't want to sit up front. You know, like you just don't want to be seen. You don't want anybody to see you or hear you. You want to be aware in those moments that you're not being yourself. And you might also be minimizing your needs, goals, your dreams, because you don't want to take that risk. So I don't know, what if it just might be time to let your freak flag fly? Just be yourself. Can you give yourself that permission? Think about it. And number 7, permission to try new things and be bad at them, to suck at them. Are you cringing already? Midlife perfectionism can be so exhausting. And in midlife, so many of us proudly state that we're perfectionists. Oh yes, I'm a perfectionist. Like it was part of your DNA, right? Or I've even heard people say, oh, I'm a recovered perfectionist, or I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I never know. I don't know if I believe that. This really surprised me about myself too, how much I didn't want to suck. And I've noticed it a few times. One big one was when I declared when I was 50 that I would love to take tap dancing again. So I'm like writing it down. Oh, yes. And I even had a friend. I shared it with a friend, and she, like in no time flat, found me somebody who was local, who taught adult tap. And then I started to freak. I'm like, oh my God, that means I have to go buy shoes. I got to walk into this dance studio. I hadn't been in a dance studio since I was 14. And I noticed that even when I went in to get the shoes, I was so self-conscious, unbelievably self-conscious. There was a whole bunch of people there, dance moms and kids, who were very comfortable in the space. And I was very uncomfortable. I put the tap shoes on, then I had to go in front of that triple mirror with a little floor there and stand in front of the mirror and look at myself and make a noise with my tap shoes. I thought, what am I doing? I am so self-conscious. I'm so self-conscious. And then the other time I noticed it, by the way, I did take lessons, and I felt definitely self-conscious. And you're making noise when you're tapping, so it's not like you can hide. It was not a big class. Anyway, I did try something new. I started to feel better about it, but it's something I didn't expect that I would be so aware of the discomfort of trying something new and being bad at it or being new at it, just not having those developed skills that so many of us have as midlife women. We've been around a while and we've gotten really good at a lot of stuff. The other time I noticed it was when I took the certification to be a certified Zentangle teacher. So mindful doodling, you may know that I feel very strongly about mindful doodling and how important it is and how important it can be for you. And I'm going to be talking more about this in the coming weeks because I have something very exciting coming that has to do with mindful doodling. I already incorporated it into the Women in the Middle Academy. We're having a lot of fun with it. So anyway, when I took this certification, it was during COVID. And there were about 400 people online. It happened to be the first time it was offered online. I was planning on going in person and having a whole experience in person. But it was the first time they taught it online. And it was lovely. Like I cleared everything up around my desk and I got really comfortable. And I noticed that when it was time to share our work, we were using an app and we were uploading images on an app. So we were all doing the same thing. And then we were looking on the app at how different everybody's work was, even though we were doing the same thing, in quotes. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm pretty anonymous uploading something on an app, but if I was sitting in a room with 400 people, with people doing the work in front of me, behind me, and on each side of me, I knew I would be self-conscious. All that drama was detracting from my experience. And if I would have been in person, it would have detracted. Clearly, I had not given myself a suck at something. It was totally perfectionist thinking, and it really surprised me. So think about your childhood and how much more you embraced trying new things when you were young, when you didn't have decades of experience. And you may recognize being like this again actually has the potential to keep you young. So can you do this? Can you be open to trying something new and not being really proficient or not being really talented or not being really skilled at it? What if your thoughts about this were not only okay, but also advantageous to your life experience? Huge concept, right? What if you could work on your thinking in a way that it wasn't just okay, but it actually helped you and added so much value to your life experience? So permission to try new things and be bad at them, very important. And number 8, another biggie. These are all big. Permission to want what you want. First time I heard this concept was during my coach training. And it is so important. I'm like, permission to want what you want? Who doesn't give themselves permission to want what you want? That's what I thought back in 2014. Most of us midlife gals struggle with this. Now, I'm saying most, not knowing if that's an actual fact and has been researched. Let me correct myself. Many. It's very common. Desire is data. It's information. But at our age in midlife, knowing what you want, knowing what you actually desire is not as easy as you might think. What is common is to think that it's hard to know. And this comes up all the time with working with women about passion. Women come to me all the time and say, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Why don't I know? It's just so hard to figure out what passion is. That's what I hear all the time. And I also thought that because you might feel disconnected to what you actually want. And there's this concept that so many of us believe that it's hard to know. And you may not even be giving yourself permission to have clarity about wanting what you want. You're just so uncomfortable with allowing want, allowing desire. And it is such a common regret, and it's avoidable. You can examine these thoughts and give yourself permission to want what you want. Why wouldn't you be allowed to want what you want? What's getting in your way? Probably just your thoughts. And your thoughts about what you deserve, what is indulgent, what is extra, how you imagine yourself, what you believe about yourself. Who you want to become in life is going to require all kinds of permission. So the 8 that we just talked about here, there's probably more. And some of them might be very specific to something that you struggle with, giving yourself permission to do. I know there's more of them, but podcast episodes cannot go on forever. So there you have it. We focused on 8. Let's just start with 8. 8 ways that you could be giving yourself permission in midlife. Permission to rest, permission to imagine what's actually possible and to push yourself to dream bigger, permission to say no, and I added as we were talking, permission to also say yes, permission to be curious and explore without action-oriented details, permission to prioritize yourself and put yourself finally first without guilt, permission to be authentic and let your freak flag fly, permission to be yourself. Number 7, permission to try new things and not be great at them. You might even suck. Is that okay? You might fail. Is that okay? Permission to want what you want. So there you go. Lots of food for thought. Now let's talk about creating an actual ritual to head into your next chapter with power, with intention. So let's call it the Midlife Permission Slip Ceremony. Why not? Why not call it a ceremony? It's time. It is time to do this. I mean, what are you waiting for? I'm 62. Should I wait more to give myself permission to do this or that? Do you want to wait more? You got to act like time matters. Remember? This is what I start with at the beginning of these podcasts. I help women stop living like time doesn't matter because it does. Waiting is overrated. What are you waiting for? Let's give yourself some permission now. Imagine the blue fuzzy wand. Because if we were together on Zoom right now, this is exactly the moment I would reach up and grab that fuzzy thing, that weird fuzzy sparkling thing, and I would give you a ding. Ding! So consider this your virtual ding moment. Permission is granted. So now take a deep breath. You can even put your hand on your heart. I don't know if you like to do that when you take a deep breath, if that helps you connect with yourself. I like to sit down when I take a deep breath. It helps, ground, to just be still. I also like to have my arms resting on the desktop or wherever you are on the table. Whatever helps you. Just center yourself, breathe, and then repeat after me. Okay? I'm allowed to want what I want. I'm allowed to try something new. I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to say no. I'm allowed to change. So there are just a few examples. Okay, but it's so important. Now, I want you to pick 3. Pick 3 permission slips. You don't have to make a slip, but you could. Pick 3 areas of your life that you want to give yourself more permission. Okay, so you could think about it. Just more permission going on to the next chapter. It could be more permission going on to the next year. It could be more permission for the next few months, more permission by your birthday, more permission to celebrate your birthday, whatever it is. And think about it this way. Not all permissions are created equal. What if you had one permission that was fun? One permission that's fun. That one for me is permission to see my bestie who lives an airplane ride away more often. So, for years, we were just kind of seeing each other whenever it worked out. When we were younger, we had a New Year's Eve get-together every year for a while. And then, life got busy, kids, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of went away. And then it got weird. It was like, well, if everything lined up in the universe, we could give ourselves permission to get together. And now we're really working on it. Let's just do it more often. And it doesn't need to be the most perfect timing. We could even get together and work together. Like if we couldn't each have that much time off, we could have a gathering around, we're still going to work, but we're going to hang. You know what I mean? So whatever a fun permission is for you, think of it that way, one fun. And then let's go into an easy one. One that's really gentle, one that doesn't feel like a crazy reach, but something that feels like love. One very gentle, kind permission. Maybe it's even the curiosity idea. Just something you can do that's not a huge reach and doesn't make you squirm. And then let's talk about squirming. Then I want you to also think about one that's kind of out there. Maybe you think of it as bold or courageous. Think of a permission that pushes you a little bit. Think of a permission that's kind and gentle. And think of one that makes you smile, one that's really fun and full of joy. Okay? So that's your homework. There's a couple of prompts here that can help you. You could just say simply, I'm going to give myself permission to ... Here's another simple prompt. I'm tired of waiting to give myself permission to ... Or I'm not going to wait anymore to give myself permission ... So one is I'm going to do it, and one is I'm going to stop waiting to do it. And then think of one for next year. Next year is going to be different because I am allowed to blank ... So this prompt, you're going to think about yourself just being that person who's allowed to blank. Okay? So I'm going to give myself permission to do whatever. I'm going to stop waiting to give myself permission to do whatever, like you're done with that. And next year is going to be different. I am a woman who is allowed to blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 dot, 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 and blank will help get you there. So let whatever comes up for you be enough. Don't overthink it. It's not a performance. I called it homework, but I'm not going to check your homework. You're the only one who can give yourself a gold star for trying. And think of it as a ceremony. I've talked a lot about celebration in the podcast and in coaching, even my little book, 50 Ways to Celebrate Life After 50. Think about it as a way to celebrate this new level of who you're becoming, because this is who you want to be. This is you witnessing your own becoming that woman. You are becoming a woman who gives yourself permission to do the stuff that you want to do, to prioritize stuff and then have your own back and do the things. So write the permissions somewhere special. Maybe on a sticky note, maybe in a journal, maybe in your notes app. Maybe you even have like a decorative card, whatever. You can decorate it. You can even put it in a frame. Now, I'm sensitive to this. I don't know if you want it public or private. For sure, you don't need to frame it and put it anywhere if you don't want to. But it does help to write things down. It's a reminder. You might even want to put a reminder on your calendar. I love that. I love when I put them random and they just pop up. Another thing, obviously, would be a vision board. You could put that's your vision. That's who you want to become in the future. A woman who gives herself permission to do whatever the thing is. And then you could have that visual representation of either permission or the thing that you want to be focusing on. The important part is to write it down and understand that you're going to be doing something about allowing yourself to lean in to what you really want. That's the goal. And every time you see them, imagine me holding up that fuzzy wand and giving you another sparkly ding, not because I hold the power, but because it reminds you of how much power you have always had. After all, you're the one really holding the wand. Okay, that is it for this episode. And my friend, this is your next chapter. And permission is the door that opens it. Oh my gosh, think about it that way. If today's ceremony stirred something in you and you want more clarity about what to focus on next year, check out my free masterclass, Get Unstuck, Midlife Clarity Fast and Easy. It's the perfect next step if you're done waiting for your life to make sense and you just want simple tools to figure out what you want. Get Unstuck, Midlife Clarity Fast and Easy, and to find it, head over to www.midliferoadmap.com. And with that, go shine, go take up space, get yourself a wand if you want. It's super fun. And remember, you don't have to live like time doesn't matter, because it does. You have so many choices. You have so many choices, but awareness is the key. And today, now you're looking at permission and how you get in your own way a little bit differently. Way to go. Well done. All right. Thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. My focus as your regret-proofing midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain, having this awareness, understanding your thoughts, catching them, noticing how they create your feeling state. It is the best way to be. That's all brain domain stuff, right? It is time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. Reach out if you would like to talk about coaching together. I have several options that might be a good fit. Head over to www.talktosusie.com and don't forget to check out my new midlife quiz to discover what is keeping you stuck and to learn about what your future self is craving. Go to www.midlifequiz.com to find that. And for show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 436. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.